speaking of the course, let's go ahead and take a quick little look at the course that the riders are going to be taking on today. It is the Watopia Volcano Climb course. The men are going to be doing 3 laps. The women are going to be doing 2 laps out on the course there today. Of course, it's always, as always, starting from the pens, as we do see us zooming in here. This is where things are going to be fast and furious right from the get-go. Riders are going to have to kick it into 10 to 15 watts per kilogram to hold on to usually the cyclocross type starts. They're going to head on over toward the underground. Things might calm down at this point. We might see a couple try to get away, but we'll see the initial packs form throughout the underground here. Then they will be heading on over towards what's coined the Jarvis tree, because it is a remembrance a little bit from going through that tree from back on the beta days, way back on Jarvis Island. As they do exit this, there is a little bit of a climb out into the marina. There might be a couple of attacks there. Every lap we might see an attack into that marina, as well as these little uphill gradient, about a 1 to 2% gradient through those S-turns, but then they head on over toward Scotty the Fountain, as well as the ruins, into the volcano. And this is where things really heat up, because the climb is about 450 feet or so. It is going to be the main place that the riders are going to be trying to get away. This is where we saw things in the New Zealand Championships. It's also where we saw things in the Northern Hemisphere Championships really break down, and the riders who were the strongest were able to get away, form a pack, but usually come into a sprint finish. As you can see, there are a couple little kicks here, a couple of flatten out points. It does get to a 10% gradient up toward the top, and there is that banner where the riders will be looking to hit around a 620 is what we saw for the climb time up to the top. So it is going to be a full-on VO2 max effort up to the top of the climb each time. We're going to get right into it, though, here. Wesman is with me, and the ride is about to start, actually, Wes. Here we go. And from the get-go, as usual, as we said, 10 watts per kilogram. We had 130, 140 riders jump in here. Kane Letter here already. Innovation up toward the front. See Halls there as well. And we are seeing Kent there, as well as M. Elias from Innovation. Innovation showing up in force for all this Southern Hemisphere racing, Wes.
Absolutely, that these riders will have some teammates out there in amongst it. So Wolfpack Taz will be presented there as well. I am, I guess, the unofficial race director of Wolfpack Taz, but also Nadsy, the road captain, who has been very dominant in E-crits last year. Didn't quite make it through the final, but there was plenty of hashtag wildcards for Nadsy thrown out. But it looks like we've got a hot contested start here, Nathan. As always, that out of the gun, that heart in your throat sort of start. Every one of the riders here will get straight up to that,
look at it.
Heart rate. What's going on here already? Look at it stretch out here, Nathan. There is some watts being laid down here early. This is like coming into the final. Look at the size of the pack there. It's a nice size pack, and some orange numbers being shot up from even some of the riders that are towards the back of the field here. Now have to doing almost, Nathan, an attack effort to get back up to the front.
You definitely do. You know, if this pack does get away from you at this point, it's curtains. You need to do everything you can in these early moments to follow on, because the reality is everybody has a ton of energy saved up at this point, ready to go, ready to kick on and get away. And because of that, you can see a lot of rotations coming through into the orange numbers, which just continues to bring up the speed. The speed continues to go higher and higher and higher with each one of those attacks. And as you can see here, the pack is already starting to split. We are seeing probably a top 50 or so trying to get away. Actually, 59. We're seeing 63 at this point. 142 riders jumping on into this group action. We are seeing Troy Herfoss actually looking for that national championship kit. It looked like sitting in 3.5 watts per kilogram, 150 beats per minute currently, keeping it pretty smart, but there is a reality of being too far back in these packs, though, because you might not see what happens up front. See Allen here right along with Mitchell. Looks like Lamprecht and Bambrick here just trying to hang on and get back on terms. Little Joey here now, 9.7 watts per kilogram. Looks like he had a little bit of a dropout for a moment there. We'll see if he can get back on terms as well. I think these riders will find that group again as long as they find the right wheel. Ruins heading on over toward the volcano for their first climb in just a moment. All back together. Looks like Grupo Compacto at this point. Not too much of a break. Let's see if they were able to. Oliver's racing here with R. Dever here, but let's see if they were able to come back together to have over 80 riders. It does look like M. Hodges and Petal, as well as C. Lewis here, all 47 seconds back. The only place I see this coming back together, and this is actually 60 plus at this point, riders at 62nd place or back. So there was another break. I have a feeling that took place on that S-turn climb, where it's a little bit of a 1 to 2% gradient, and there is that little bit of a kick around toward the sprint banner. Usually at that point, because of how Zwift works, kind of like it's like being on a crit course, when you come around the corner and you can kick and you can lose a wheel. A lot of times that is the way that people will try and get away at those points. So I have a feeling that is where that took place. At the back here, we have R Green from Team AHDR, as well as Cridland and the Zwift kit hanging out the back, playing it pretty smart at this point, actually. So now you don't want to be too far back, though, Wes. If you can't see what's happening at the front.
Pulled the pin early, but he may have been up there with Kieran, who's actually in the studio as well here in the spin studio. He's here racing too from Rafa, so he might have done a bit of a lead out. Looks like the boys are laughing in the background there. Might have done a bit of a lead out for Kieran, getting him up in that front bunch.
I did see the Zwift HQ banner there, and I was wondering who was out there, so good to see that he was out there racing. But I think we're going to have a little chat here with one of our analysts, actually, Jonathan Nobbett, also Zwift Productions, live streaming productions manager over in, coming to us from Edinburgh, actually. So, Jonathan Nobbett, what's happening with a few of these riders out on course?
Hey Nathan, yes, so 2 riders that we're very familiar with in Zwift racing. We obviously had the Australian KISS E-Crit finals back last year in Melbourne, Australia. And 2 of the riders there, we have Aaron Dunn here. We can see currently showing in 19th position, but he's in that front group of 48 riders. Aaron Dunn, 37 years of age, pretty light rider. Got some great power already, for averaging 300 watts in the first 15 minutes of the race. And we see that as we're coming up to the volcano climb, he's got a great time of 6 minutes 57 with an average power of 332. Now that's 6:57. That was like, that's a really good time. We think we'll probably see him break that today in this race, as we think we had. I think it was 6 minutes 45, which was the fastest in a lot smaller group in the New Zealand race just before. But another rider we need to look out for, one of the lightest riders out on course, nice little doggy avatar there, from Anthony Ciano, the Zwift kid, 27 years of age, 57 kilograms. Now Anthony also raced in the KISS E-Crit finals back last year in September. He was a wildcard entry from the west side of Australia, but also a similar time to Aaron, 6:52, with a bit of lower power. So Anthony, another rider we need to keep an eye out. A young rider, light rider, very strong as well. And the riders that I think, Wes, you know a lot about Aaron and Anthony. I think that's right. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. These two were very dominant, and in the E-Crit series last year, I mean, Anthony Ciano, the Zwift kid, was lucky enough to come through. Pat Shaw went with an early sprint at like 800 meters out, and Zwift kid come from about 4th, I think, position to come through and actually steal 2nd place, with Aaron Dunn taking the win on that occasion.
The statistics on it, the actual stats on the course, we do have 3 laps for the men, 2 laps for the women. Total distance for the men will be 42.6 miles or 68.4 kilometers. Total elevation climb 2007 or 612 meters. For the women, it will be 28.4 miles and 45.6 kilometers. And total elevation there, 338 feet or 408 meters. And that is all on the Watopia volcano climb. Each lap, they're doing 432 feet to the top of that climb from sea level to the top there. So it's definitely a difficult course, that's for sure.
That certainly clears things up, and it's certainly, like you said, Nathan, really visualize this racing and puts it into action to make sure that we've seen the likes of Ollie Jones go on to be racing at 2 a.m. in the morning because of Zwift, because otherwise he'd be back in New Zealand. But because of Zwift and winning the Zwift Academy, he was over racing at the Zwift National Championships from the other side of the world. So, the possibilities of Zwift for a talent ID program, and also just a pathway for no matter what age you are into the pro peloton for women and men, is something that's pretty special.
Definitely super special, and super huge opportunity, actually. Now looking through here, we are seeing Herfoss, actually. You were saying that we were going to be waiting for this moment for him, and there it is. He kicked into 10 watts per kilogram, used a feather power up 7.1 watts per kilogram. B. Johnson here trying to get back on turns. We can see that gap a little bit forming as we look down from the helicopter view here. There's the difference. It is about 10 meters. Will it go out any further? I'm not sure. A little bit of a group behind forming, trying to make that chase. Does look like the gap's being closed down by Van Dam. Johnson's there as well. It looks like Johnston and Johnson. Zach Johnson there. 8.7 watts per kilogram. WP Taz closing it right on down. S. Richards now able to make it. Van Dam. Oliver White.
Big ask to try and stay away the line. Ask to try and stay.
And women that's going to be it from